Blank check. Okay. Blank check, nice and high. Now, will the blessed individual who has two burdens please stand? He knows who he is. Where is he? There we go. Can you come on stage? Let's give it up for him. So, a little backstory. So he has two burdens. And he has two burdens because he decided to take his burden off. And so, the loving brother that I am, I not only helped him put his burden on, I gave him an extra one. So will you lift up the two burdens? Lift them up so everyone can see. Awesome. So, for those who misplace their burden moving forward, I'll be putting strings in a box similar to this, and this will be your burden moving forward. As a reminder to keep your burdens on. And I want to say that this also goes to the adults. So elders and Pastor John, watch out. Thank you. You can take a seat. We are going to go back to our main scripture, which is what book? Somebody said Deuteronomy, I heard them. We are in the book of Isaiah, chapter 61. Let's head to Isaiah 61. Verses 1 through 3 have been the verses that we've been covering. But right now we're going to focus on verse 3. So verse 1 to 3, I'm going to read this entire. The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord has anointed me to preach the good news. Because the Lord has anointed me to preach the good news, to preach good tidings to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to those who are bound, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn, to console those who mourn in Zion, to give them a beauty of ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they may be called trees of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, that he may be glorified. Pardon me, I misspoke earlier. We're not going over verse 3. I meant to say we're going over section 3 because this is the third session. We're going to be going over, he has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives. Heal the brokenhearted, liberty to the captives. I want you to take a good look at who you're sitting next to in church right now. Whether it be an empty seat or someone behind you. Take a look, like actually physically look at them. Awesome. So in a bit we're going to watch a video, and this video is going to ask you to do something. Like the person in the video is going to speak to the crowd, and he's going to ask you to do something. When he makes that ask, I want the people in this audience to also do that. Okay? So please turn your eyes to the screen so that we can watch this video. Thank you.
And I'm hoping that your discernment can pick up on the hope of church. Watch out for the pineapples. Dear person sitting next to me in church, I'm dying. And I'm hoping that your discernment can pick up on the hope. I'm hoping that your discernment can pick up on the hopelessness in my body language, because words cannot bench press the heaviness off my tongue. When the pastor does the altar call, I probably won't come. Because every time the pastor tells people to come to the front, he always asks more than once, as if the people who put their pride aside to come up first wasn't enough to satisfy the kind of message the kind of response that he feels like his message should have got. I will not become just another soul that caters to your show just to make your church look anointed, just so you can send me back to my role, only for me to go home as the same way I was before I left. I came here. I came here because I'm on the brink of my death. And I need somebody to sense what I do not have the courage to say. When you look at me and ask me, how am I doing today? And I say, fine. I need you to look into my eyes and pick up on the fact that I'm lying. Because there are tears on the other side of this conversation sitting right below our surfacey interaction. And all I really need is somebody who cares to dig long enough to realize that there is a ditch waiting for me when I walk outside of those doors. You would not believe how hard it is to find a believer who is more concerned about their neighbors than their own answered prayers. When people like me feel like a Jew laying in the middle of these pews and entire congregations don't even recognize that we're there. It's like the only difference between us and roadkill is that people actually acknowledge that roadkill is dead. But yet we pass by dead people every Saturday or every Sunday and not a word is being said. You know why? Because honestly is an inconvenience to our neighbor when it comes to talking about our deterioration of our relationship with the Savior. When the pastor says, turn to your neighbor and say some type of affirmation, and you look my way, can you tell that I'm telling you something that I believe for you but that I don't believe for me? How I look into your eyes long enough for you to recognize that I'm talking at you, but not long enough for you to realize that the same words that I'm telling you, that you are now telling me are brick shots off my ear's rim. And honestly, I can't tell you the last time the word of God took a shot at my heart and went in. I'm dying. Can you feel the heat leaving my body? The fire for Christ that once burdened my soul has gone cold. When we're sitting in these pews and our legs accidentally touch, can you discern that there is no living water left in my cistern? Or are we just accidentally sitting next to each other until one of us dies so that we can go gossip about how the person next to us is backsliding and pretend not to know why? Dear person sitting next to me in church, I want to put aside my pride. But when everybody always pretends to come dressed in their Sunday's best, I feel compelled to hide like Adam and Eve behind this masquerade of leaves. I thought church was the one place I could wear my emotions on my sleeve. Because I'm in choir and I'm singing about a God that I'm struggling to believe. I'm expected to be a minister, but nobody is ministering to me. Why do I feel more in bondage to the mask that I have to put on than I feel liberated by the same God who died to set me free? Look at your neighbor. Take a moment right now to look at your neighbor. Seriously, look at your neighbor. Ask them how they're really doing today. Okay, at the end of this poem, ask them how they're really doing today. Tell them not to lie. And when they tell you how they're really doing, proceed to ask them why. Don't let them carry out of here the same things that they carried in. Take a moment to pray with them and keep in contact should y'all need to pray again. Do you know how many times you've walked to a church and the person next to you has felt like they were dying inside? So at the end of this poem, don't clap, don't snap, don't cheer. Just make sure the person next to you is alive. Watch out for the pineapple.
Dear person sitting next to me in church, I'm dying. What would you do if, like, on a random, okay, the breadwinners, okay. What if on a random Sunday, you decide to sit next to Tim, you ask Tim how he's doing, he says, I feel like I'm dying. Some of us are so preconditioned to say, oh, that's good, that we say that like halfway through. How are you doing? I'm doing, oh, that's so good. Oh, God bless you, brother. Okay, I'm going to get some bread. I'm going to get some food at church now. We're so like preconditioned. What if somebody actually said, I'm actually in trouble. I'm actually struggling. I keep leaving my burden at lunch and Miguel keeps finding me. I keep leaving my burden in front of someone and they keep finding me. I keep trying to leave my burden and it keeps finding me. What if someone actually shared that? Dear person sitting next to me in church, I need you. What if you asked someone how they were doing and their response was, I need you, or I need someone? There are people who we have on social media who are in this space who often post, I need help. Who will post something that seems, and they're kind of indicating that they're going through something. They may not say it on Sunday, but they'll say it on Facebook. Because maybe they feel like that's their only outlet. What's our response to that? And like Carnez said, are we just waiting for an opportunity for them to not be here anymore and wonder why they're not here? When deep down inside we saw the signals. We've witnessed the struggles that they were navigating. Dear person sitting next to me, I'm dying. That's exactly how I felt in 2016. One of the many things that I share with people, and they're like, what? I'm actually part Asian. I'm part Filipino. And when I say that, people are like, no, you don't look Filipino. I know, I get it. My mom's side of the family is the Filipino side. So my grandmother and my grandfather are both from the Philippines. And my grandfather was the one that was the more recent person from the Philippines. Probably when I was 5, he came from the Philippines. So every single weekend I spent in Queens and Far Rockaway and had a traditional Filipino upbringing. And everyone in the Far Rockaway in the 90s was somehow Filipino. I don't know why. Don't ask me. So he taught me how to ride a bike. He taught me how to make rice. He taught me how to make mung beans. He taught me how to make adobo chicken. And I gotta say, it's pretty good. But he taught me all of these things. He had a really big stakeholder in raising me. So when he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, it definitely felt like a weight. See, he was diagnosed the same year my grandmother passed away, but he didn't tell anyone. He was a long-time smoker, and I remember finding out that he had moved to Harlem, which was much closer to the Bronx. So it was easier for me to go see him. It was easier for me to connect with him. So when he told me he had cancer and that he was going into surgery, I prayed for him, and I was a little worried, and then I went home. And then a couple of months later, I called, and he wasn't picking his phone up. And I kind of got worried, so I went to his apartment, and he was sleeping. And he told me the reason why he wasn't picking his phone up was because he was in the hospital. He collapsed right outside the door of his apartment. And if it wasn't for his neighbor who found him, he might have died then. Fast forward a couple of months, beginning of 2016, February, I get a call that he had a stroke and he was in the hospital. And the doctor basically told me on the phone that he was going to die. Maybe a few days. And the thing about people when they have strokes, when they initially start to recover, their brain hasn't registered that they've had a stroke. So if the stroke happened in this side, on this side of the brain, it's this body that will be affected, this side. So if the left side of the brain is affected, then the right side of the body is what usually goes numb. That's the way it correlates. So when the doctor was explaining this, he asked my grandfather, do you know what happened? He couldn't register that half of his body wasn't able to move. So they moved him to hospice, which is basically a space where folks who are about to pass away go to be the most comfortable. The medical doctors have basically said there's nothing more we can do, and that's basically it. So they transition people there. And the day they moved him in, he passed away. And I remember being in the Bronx and getting a phone call the day before he passed away. They told me that they had him, he was in the military, so they had him on this some type of something that was allowing him to speak and listen. Because the stroke was so bad that he was basically just laying, he was conscious, but you couldn't see him move, you couldn't see him walk or talk or anything. So the doctors were calling me the day before he passed away, and I wanted to go see him right before they transitioned him to hospice. And it was the first time I had to share the gospel to someone on their deathbed. And I was terrified. I was terrified because I was about to lose my grandfather. I was terrified because we couldn't have a conversation like we could have a conversation now about the Lord. I was scared because I had to basically tell someone in their 80s that they're about to die. So I spent about 15 minutes with him, held his hand. He acknowledged that I was there. I prayed for him. I read some scriptures for him. And in that following day, he passed away. That was different than my grandmother. When my grandmother passed away, she was already in the hospital. And before I had even gotten to Queens, she passed away. So I didn't even get to see her last moments. So I was thankful to the Lord. But I started to enter like a little bit of a depression during February of 2016. It was also the same month that the person who I thought I was going to marry broke up with me. And it was also the same week that my father was diagnosed with cancer, stage 2 in his back. I was in my spring semester of my master's degree, which means that I had to do 21 hours of community service. It meant I had to go to 5 classes. It also meant I had to work. It also meant I had to cook. It also meant I had to attend church. All these things were happening simultaneously. And I felt like I couldn't breathe. I felt like out of everyone that this was happening to, no one could really see. Dear person sitting next to me in church, my grandfather just died. Dear person sitting next to me in church, my dad has cancer. So as the semester starts moving along, in March, I wake up to my mother screaming. And my mother is telling me to turn on the news. And this is actually the first time I'm actually saying this publicly. We had woken up and found out that my uncle murdered my aunt. And it was all over the news in New York City. And my family now had to deal with the news media coming to want to interview us in the midst of all of this. And as the only Christian in my family at the time, I had to basically carry my family on my back and keep not only my personal sanity, but letting folks know that God is with us, that God is on this journey. But I had to preach to myself more than anyone else. Dear person sitting next to me, I need you. I need someone. I cried almost every day in the year 2016. I lost about 15 pounds. I know, right? I didn't have this. I lost about about 15 pounds. Not because I wasn't eating, but because I just didn't have the same appetite. I wouldn't sleep as much. Like, I'd be tired, I'd go to sleep, but the minute I start to toss and turn, I'm already up. And that weight on my heart that the people I love left me was just sitting there. And so I began to pray. And I began to talk to God. But this time it was different. Like, the way we talk to God when we're in victory is like, Lord, thank you so much. I got the scholarship. Oh my gosh, I'm going to snow camp. We talk with so much like enthusiasm. We're so enthusiastic about it. Oh my gosh, she said yes when I proposed to her. Thank you, Lord, thank you. We get so excited. But when we're experiencing a tribulation or we're experiencing a storm, the tone is different. Tears of joy, tears of sadness. Arms raised in surrenderance. Arms raised in joy and rejoicing. Dear person sitting next to me in church, will you pray with me? So, as the year came to an end from an academic school year, by the time June came around, I had pretty much developed what I'm going to share with folks here. I started to see that God told us 3 things about healing. He told us many things, but these are the 3 things that stuck out with me. And they stuck out with me because I struggle with depression and anxiety. I know what it feels like to be numb, like to want to feel something. I would get so much anxiety in the months after the person I was dating when we broke up. I would look through their Instagram. I would see if they liked my photo. And I know it's like silly, like, oh, some of the adults are like, oh, it's social media. But that really means something now. Like, that's a real thing in my life, and that's a real thing in the lives of these young people. So yeah, I wanted to take a photo and write a nice like Christian comment, like, oh my gosh, God is amazing. And behind the phone, there's just like tears coming down, like in hopes that someone sees me, in hopes that she sees me. So at night, I prayed. And it wasn't until I had a conversation with my best friend that she helped me to unpack these 3 things. Let's turn, can everyone turn to Isaiah chapter 41, verse 10? While we do that, I'm going to need one brave soul. Him right here, right next to you. On your left, the person on your left. Yep. Can you tell him come on stage? Come on stage. Come join us. I want you to help me with a quick demonstration. Okay, can you come up then? He's going to be amazing. Yeah, you can come up. Come on. Let's give it up for him. So Isaiah 41:10 says, fear not, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Yes, I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Alan? Awesome, Alan. Alan, can you come over here? Alan's going to stand in the middle. Fear not, for I am with you. We covered that. God is with us. I will strengthen you. Isn't it interesting that it says yes right after that? Alan, you're looking forward, Alan. Isn't it interesting, right? I'm with you. I'm going to strengthen you. Yes. Why do you think that there's a yes there in that verse? Remember how I brought up earlier that in a conversation sometimes we're preemptive and it's like, how are you doing? I'm doing fine. Oh, that's great. That's God being preemptive with us. He's saying yes. He's confirming it. Before we even ponder, are you actually there? I will strengthen you, yes. There's already a confirmation. So the minute I say, I will strengthen you, I don't even have biceps, God. Look at my muscles. They're so thin. Yes, I will strengthen you. I will hold on to you with my righteous right hand. Alan, will you do me a favor and hold my hand? Awesome. All right, we're gonna. Cool. Alan, I didn't wash my hands in like 2 days. Now, Alan, I want you to feel that I'm holding you with a grip. You can choose not to hold on to my hand. Okay? See, as Alan releases his hand, it doesn't mean I let go. I will hold on to you with my righteous right hand. Some of us are holding on to God like this. We're all in this together. That's what, look. But then some of us have our hands open. And we start to go that way. Alan, can you go that way? See, if Alan starts to go that way, I'm holding on to him. You can go again, Alan. And then God pulls us back. So when God tells us, I will hold on to you with my righteous right hand, He's telling you He's taking you somewhere. He's going, He wants to go this way. So in the same way I'm walking around and Alan's following me, Alan sometimes let his hand go. Sometimes Alan's hand is sweaty like it is right now. And it's always sweaty. Isn't it interesting that there are things in our lives that cause us to slip away easier? So we're holding on to God. Let's give it up, Alan. We're holding on to God, but we keep slipping away because we'd rather go back to certain things. And also, we slip away because when we are navigating depression and anxiety, maybe some social, what people call social awkwardness, when we navigate those things, we start to see that, or we start to say that God isn't there when He is. So this first point is that God holds on to us with His righteous right hand, just like a parent. If you're a parent, can you raise your hand? If you're a parent in this room? Everyone who's raising their hand right now know what it means to hold their child's hand. Especially when you cross the street. You hold on to their hand, even though they want to cross first, even though they want to go down this way in the aisle, or even though they want to sit this way in church, you hold their hand. Unless you're my mother. My mother, we weren't allowed to leave her, so if we went this way, I'm sorry, Mommy. That was her righteous right hand right there. God has that too. So when we look at God holding on to us with our righteous right hand, we see that even when we attempt to let go, He holds on. He leaves the 99 to get the one. He leaves the 99 to get the one. Our second point. Can we turn in our Bibles to John chapter 14, verse 27? Turn to your neighbor and say, are you at John? Okay, John chapter 14, verse 27. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. That sounds like a poem. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. Not as the world gives, but I do give to you. Let me stop. The part we're going to focus on is let not your heart be troubled. Neither let it be afraid. And if you're like me, you're like, but you told me that already, God. And I'm still afraid. You told me not to be afraid, and I'm still afraid. You told me, God, can you tell me how to not be afraid? A lot of us come to church for that. And that's not a bad thing. We hear the, don't do this, but we often don't hear the, can you teach me how? All right, so Emmanuel set up this plan for us at church. We're going to read the Bible in a whole year. Can you show me how? All right, you want us to pray. Can you show me how to pray? Adults in college and career track, are we teaching our young person how to do things? Coming alongside of them, the same way my mother came alongside me to buy the bread earlier, the same way God comes alongside and holds you on with His righteous right hand. Do you know how to not be afraid? Tell you the truth, I haven't figured it out. But I know what works best for me. When I'm afraid of another, that you may be able to go to sleep. No, it doesn't say that. That you may be healed. Do you know that's one of the very rare verses in the Bible where it actually says, do something so that you'll be healed? Like when we read the New Testament, we see Jesus healing people. He may lay hands on them, he may pray for them. But this is one of the rare verses in the Bible where it's saying, do this and you will be healed when you do that. Saying, confess your trespasses to one another and pray for one another that you may be healed. The folks on top, are we able to get a different translation? If so, can we put the Message version? Because I think the Message version is not up there. Awesome, crazy. I may have it up here. But the Message version highlights a different aspect of this, right? Because when we see the word trespasses, therefore confess your sins. Oh, they're getting to it. Can we clap it up for the people on top? So sometimes it says trespasses, sometimes it says sins. When you think about a trespass, it's like you did something wrong, like you offended somebody. So when you tell somebody about it, there's healing that comes from that. Dear person sitting next to me in church, I went to that website I wasn't supposed to go to yesterday. Dear person sitting next to me in church, my mom told me not to play Fortnite because I had to do homework, and I did it anyway. Dear person sitting next to me in church, I fell asleep again. Dear person sitting next to me in church, there we go. Shout out to ads and everything. It says this, make this your common practice. Make this your common practice. Confess your sins to one another, to each other, and pray for each other so that you can live together whole and healed. Thank you for the verse. Whole and healed. When I cover these three aspects of healing, it's not until we get to James that we actually see the how. It's the blueprint. Not only does this work for that secret sin, this also works for people who are navigating depression and anxiety. So if you don't know, what I do for work is I'm a therapist. So I work with folks who are 16 to about 26 years old, and I work with them a lot on major depressive disorder, bipolar, but also people who just come to this country and they're having a tough time. Folks who English isn't their first language. People who broke up with the person that they thought they were going to marry forever. Part of having my best friend and the elders at my church was that I was able to not only confess my sins, but I was able to tell them that I'm having a hard time getting over the people that I lost. That I'm having a hard time forgetting the person that I loved. That I'm having a hard time. And they were able to tell me, well, maybe you should stay on social media for a week. Well, maybe can I pray with you? Maybe I can set up a meeting. Let's navigate this together. You're not alone in this. Whenever we navigate life, we pick up different burdens. And when we approach people with those different burdens, we walk different. Like I mentioned a day ago, we walk different. When something's heavy, we don't sit up straight. We look strange. In that same way, when Christ was carrying the cross, he wasn't carrying it like this, like I am. He could have. He had the strength to. He was demonstrating that the weight of sin does something to us. The weight of our struggles does something to us. And a perfect example of this is the story of Job. Now, you don't have to turn to the story of Job, but I want to share something. What's the first book of the Bible? Say it nice and loud like you know it.
Genesis.
Okay, what was the first book of the Bible that was written?
Job.
A lot of scholars point to the book of Job as being one of the earliest books of the Bible written. Isn't that interesting? I want you to think back to this time. Think before we had the machines to print the Bible. Think about how people translated the Bible. Think about before it was on papyrus, before there were manuscripts. folks would often use spoken word, the verbal word, to share the story of the Bible. Think about when Job was that only story. And it was a story of a man going through a lot. And his response is, the Lord giveth, the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. God, these people are no longer in my life. Blessed be your name. That's his response when navigating these issues. So if you're looking for healing, look at the 3 points shared. But when you get to the point of being able to confess your sins, are you still giving God the glory? Are you saying, God, I'm hurt. I can't breathe. I haven't had an appetite for a week, but I know that you are good to me. Will you help me see your good? I can't tell you how many times that prayer has opened up my eyes. Where I can't see, but I'm asking God to help me see. Because what I know from him, what he's shown me, is that he is always good. So when I start to see him as bad, it's not him. It's me. It's my circumstance. It's getting the best of me. Just because I turn my back this way does not mean that the light shining on me is not bright. It means that I'm not looking in the right direction to see its brightness. We think that God is the light that turns off and on, when in fact we are the ones that change direction. So the book of Job, being one of the first books written, is illustrating that story. So I'm going to share with you what my best friend told me, and it's regarding the prayers here. So for small group leaders, listen up. We're going to do prayer cards again today. And I would like for everyone to include something in their prayer card. 2 words. So that. That phrase, so that. So if you're thinking about a prayer, you're like, God, Lord, will you help me to get into Binghamton? So that, and you're going to fill in that blank. What's the so that? See, when I first heard that, and I was praying for the person that broke my heart to come back to me, I was praying that I get to finish these papers, I was praying that I get to spend more time with my family, the minute someone told me, say, use that phrase, so that, it helped me look into my heart and see what's the motive of my prayer. God, help me get into Binghamton so that I can room with my best friend. So that I can take up biology. So that you start to see what's in your heart. And if you're like me, you're going to struggle with it at first. Because you're going to see that your prayers, they're amiss. You start to see that you're asking out of something selfish. God, listen, I want to earn $250,000. Add so that to that phrase. See what comes up. God, I want to be successful. I never want to fail an exam. Why? Because I don't want to be a failure. Add so that to the prayer. See where your pride takes you. So small group leaders, when we transition from the sermon, you're going to grab the index cards and you're going to have a conversation, and folks will bring back prayer cards to me with a new I know that it hurt. I remember, I kept those tears. I kept those prayers. I've never forgotten them. He won't ever forget them. Because he's not going to ever forget you. Because he hasn't forgotten what you're navigating and what you're going through right now. Right now, there may be some people who are struggling with social issues, who are struggling with depression and anxiety, and maybe it's showing up differently, different than how it showed up with me. But I want you to know that there is healing. I want you to know that there is community support here. I want you to know that there are leaders sitting in this church and someone on stage who is willing to give and dedicate time. We may not be the experts, but we know who is. So as we prepare the video, I want us all to remember, there's salt on it. I want us all to remember these 3 points. And after the video, will you all join us in worship? Amen.
You've heard the saying, he's carrying a lot of baggage from his past, or avoid her. Baggage. But think about it. Any baggage, we get it from other people, the things that they do to us or say to us. And if we carry those memories around, in essence, we carry baggage. We begin collecting baggage when we were just little kids.
There you are.
Hey,
Hi.
hey,
Hi.
hey.
Hey, I need to talk to you.
Yeah, what?
Well, we were talking about building the tree house.
Yeah, I love tree houses.
Yeah, that's just the thing. See, you can't help us build the tree house.
Why?
Well, you don't really want me to tell you.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, well, we were talking, the gang, we were talking.
Yeah.
Well, you're too fat.
What?
You'll weigh down the tree house.
I'm not fat.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
I'm not. No. Mommy just says I'm big bone.
Dinosaurs are big boned, you're fat.
No. Mommy says I'm chunky.
Peanut butter's chunky, you're fat.
No. Mommy says that I've lost weight.
I think you found it.
No. Mommy says I'm just different.
Your mommy says you're just different?
Yeah, I'm just different.
Go back to where you came from. I gotta go. Bye.
Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. It's one of the biggest lies we teach children. Words hurt. They cut deep. And if we carry around the words of other people, essentially what we do is we're collecting baggage. See, we can't find our self-worth based on what other people think of us. We have to find our self-worth based on Christ and our relationship with Him. But it doesn't seem to be that easy. And as life goes on and we get older, we just tend to collect more baggage. Sometimes we pick up baggage from people who are very close to us, like a best friend.
No, I know, Shelley. I know. It's like we talked for 3 hours and it seemed like 5 minutes. I know. It's like we have this amazing connection, this chemistry. Okay, I'm just going to say this, Shelley. I've never said this to anyone in a really long time. Shelley, I feel like you're my density. I really, really do. No, you're right. You're my destiny. That's what I meant. You're my destiny, right? I'm just so. Hey, he's right here. I gotta go. Okay, bye.
Hey, buddy, what's up? How much are you talking to?
Talking to my mom.
Your mom's your destiny.
Yeah. I mean, she gave birth to me and everything. Yeah. Kudos.
Really? Because it sounds like you said Shelley.
Yeah. That's her name.
I thought your mom's name was Kelly.
That's her middle name.
Your mom's name is Kelly Shelley?
Yeah. And she was picked on a lot when she was a kid, so I just really try to encourage her all the time and tell her, "Look, what's wrong with that?"
Okay. Well, whatever. Did you talk to my Shelley?
Yeah, I did.
And?
She's not going to be your Shelley. Look, we just started talking. We just kind of hit it off. I mean, it just happened. I mean, we had this great chemistry. It just...
No. You were supposed to call her for me.
I did. I started out doing that. I did. Don't believe me.
You're supposed to be my best friend.
I am. Don't let a girl come between us, okay?
You did this. Look, man, you know I've liked her since we were in kindergarten, and you were supposed to talk to her for me.
Yes, but I've been your best friend since kindergarten, and we've always said growing up, best friends forever, right?
Yeah, well, you know what? Forever just got a lot short.
Don't do this. You did this.
You're supposed to be my best friend. And our friends. They're just trying to get through life the same way we are. And sometimes they're going to make poor choices, and we can either learn to forgive them or we can pick up more baggage. You know, the truth about baggage is we don't need other people to load it on us. We do a pretty good job of dumping baggage on ourselves when we compare ourselves to others. We think things like, if I can be as popular as they are, I can be as gifted and talented as they are, but I'm not. I'm a loser. I'm no good. And when we think that, we pick up more baggage. Or we find ourselves thinking, they have it made. And why is life so easy for them and so hard for me? I'm never going to make it. And when we buy into that lie, more baggage. And sometimes we pick up baggage from people who love us dearly. They just don't realize that their words cut like a knife.
Son,
Hey, Dad.
what happened out there?
The ball slipped. The lights got in my eyes.
The lights got in your eyes.
Yeah.
You know that's what cost us the game, don't you?
Yeah.
The ball slipped. How many times have I gotten up in the morning before 5 a.m., before I go to work on this stuff with you? Huh? There were scouts out there. You realize that?
Dad, the ball slipped.
The ball slipped.
It did. I mean, what do you
Hey,
want?
Coach. Huh? No. Butterfingers, yeah. We're going to work with them. Uh-huh. All right. See you later. Are you crying?
No.
Well, don't. Pull it together. People are watching. I want you to grab your stuff. I'm going to go to the car and I'll meet you there, all right? Dad, I'm just disappointed in you, all right? These are our dreams, right? Grab your stuff.
And our parents, they don't mean to hurt us. It's just they've got their own baggage. And when you don't deal with baggage, you pass it on. And for us, we have to learn to find our self-worth only in our relationship with Christ. And if we don't, we pick up more baggage. It gets uncomfortable, tedious, and our natural tendency is to want to dump this baggage onto someone else, but it always backfires.
Hey, can I ask you a question?
What are you doing in my room?
I just need to ask you a question.
What?
Can you give me and my friends a ride to school? It's cold. I don't want to ride my bike. What?
Are you really asking that?
Yeah, I don't think it's a big deal. Just give me a ride and some of my friends to school.
You need to understand something. Just because you and your loser friends are in high school now doesn't mean I'm going to give you a ride, okay? Because look at me. You need to understand that when people look at you, they see a freak, all right? And if they know that I'm related to you, if they know we're brothers or anything, I'm a freak too, okay? And I'm not okay with that. So here's the deal. I don't care how you get there. I don't care if you have to walk or crawl or whatever, but I'm not going to be a chauffeur for you and your loser friends, okay?
It's not my fault that Dad left. Why do you keep taking out on me?
Whatever.
No, you know I'm right.
Okay. I'm sorry.
You're not sorry. You're only sorry that I'm calling you out. I'll just ride my bike.
I said I was
I'll
sorry.
ride my bike.
Come on. And in the process of trying to dump our baggage on someone else, inevitably what happens is we pick up more baggage. And then there's that. My sin. My secret sin. It's cool. I mean, I've got it under control. Who am I kidding? Most of the time it has control of me. And this is the way I live. And yet, I hear the words of Christ who says, I've come that you may have life and may have it abundantly. I don't know about you, but this doesn't really feel like abundant life to me. I can't walk straight. I can barely keep my balance. And then I remember his words. Because Christ also said, come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. That's what I want. That's what I want. So I go to God. God, please, if you're willing, would you take this baggage from me? Because God, I'm miserable and I can't live this way anymore. Please take it. And you know what? He takes it.
So as the worship team comes forward, I'm going to ask everyone to stand. And I actually want to make an invite